Okay, hello everyone, we are live right now. Okay, post this on Twitter here. Okay.
I should let me join by now.
Okay, why is this? Hold on a second. Now my thing got reset. It's not GT Online, it's Red Dead Online. Why is my stream reset? Hold on. I'm sorry, everyone. Not GTA Online, it's Red Dead Online. I don't know why it says Red Dead GTA Online. It reset my thing after I closed my stream earlier. Sorry about that, everyone. Hold on a second. I'm gonna fix everything here. I'll answer a bunch of questions in a little bit. Hold on, everyone. I'm sorry, everyone, for the confusion. One moment. Feels stupid that it says GT Online has the thumbnail even up for it too. It's on Sunday. Okay, one moment here. Yeah, fixing everything, the tags and all of that. Okay, everything's been, okay, everything's been fixed. Okay. Okay, I apologize for that. Everyone feels so stupid that it said GT Online. Okay. Okay. Okay, here we go. And, okay, let me see. It's... Okay. What, Super Gamer? No, it was, everyone that joined in, I apologize for it saying GT Online. I apologize for that. Because, I had connection problems earlier on my stream, and my stream crashed, and I just ended the stream. I just hit end stream, and then what happened was when I restarted the stream, I just hit stream now. I didn't even realize that it reset it back to GT Online, and it was just saying that, so I apologize, everyone, for that. I fixed the title and everything. I'm sorry for that, everyone. Apologize for that confusion. But yeah, a bunch of, internet problems. I don't know what's going on. Oh, I don't know whether it was a DDoS or not, I'm not certain, but a bunch of internet problems just started cutting out, it just sucked, and it just, it should be fixed right now, hang on a second here, let me just see if it's still fixed, okay. Okay. Okay, is the thumbnail fixed now? Is it good? I'm sorry about the whole GT Online thing. I'm not trying to clickbait anyone. It just reset earlier. So I'm just sorry about that.
Let me check real quick.
Okay.
Still says GT Online.
Did you try refreshing the page? I think it'll,
Yeah, let me try that. Nope, still says it.
It should say Red Dead Online. Does it say Red Dead Online on the stream?
It does say it, yeah, but the
should say now,
GTA.
okay. Okay, yeah.
No, the thumbnail's Red Dead, I just checked.
Okay, so yeah, I want to apologize to everyone who was watching earlier for all the internet problems. I'm just sorry, and I was having a bunch of internet issues for the past hour. Finally got it. It looks like I finally got everything back under control. So I'm sorry, everyone. I'm so evil that I crashed the stream with a super chat. LOL. In all seriousness, at least the stream's back. Well, thank you, Mr. Waifu, and I apologize to everyone who was watching the stream earlier. I'm sorry, and it's just yeah, I was very frustrated by it as well. Let's get over to the hideout here. Well, thank you, everyone. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was I was having internet problems or whether it was a DDoS. I don't know. So it was just, I was having some internet issues, but it seems like everything's back under control right now. Okay, get up here. Patrick, I'm afraid your title says GT Online, but your thumbnail looks like GT Online. No, Matthew, if you refresh the page, it should be fixed if you refresh the page. I apologize for that. I feel really stupid for that, too. Hi, Pro. How's your day today? It's going good, Caliber. How are you, man? It just sucks. I just had disconnected for an hour before, but I'm back.
It still says it's GTA. I'm still refreshing it to make sure.
It should say Red Dead by now. People are saying it says Red Dead. I don't know if it's...
It says Red Dead for me.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, and
the title says Red Dead, but the thumbnail.
I got good.
Open.
I got good news for you guys though. My San Andreas lore video is half done, and I'm gonna probably do another 20% of it tonight, and then the rest of it I'll do tomorrow, and then by Sunday it'll be up. So it's really close to completion, and when I put this lore video out, you guys will understand why it took me so long to put this lore video out. Like, cause there's a lot of cutscenes that I analyze, a lot of dialogue, and so it's but when I put this San Andreas lore video out, if you liked my last lore video that I did, the last big one, the Brad one. If you like the Brad one, you're gonna really like this one, I'm telling you. And there's like, it's like breaking, I have like timestamps down below, it's gonna break it down into sections and stuff like that, explaining it. And this video is not just gonna be a character analysis, but it's also gonna be a gang analysis. Different gangs, explaining how they make their money, explaining basically how the gangs work. And what I'm gonna also talk about in the lore video is gonna be talking about why certain characters act the way they do, and why they did what they did. That's basically what I'm gonna explain. So when that video comes out, I think you guys are gonna really like it. Hi TJ. Hi everyone.
Sounds pretty cool though.
Yeah, the lore video is gonna be really good. Just guys, I'm just warning you of just one thing. The lore video will be ready by Sunday, but it might not be posted on Sunday, and the reason is because of just unforeseen events. If Rockstar copyright claims my lore video, I might have to delay it until it's, monetized. Because basically, there's a certain cutscene that I have in that lore video, and that cutscene, I have to have it in that lore video. It's important, because it explains a lot of stuff, and every single time I have that cutscene in a lore video, because I've done multiple San Andreas lore videos using that same cutscene, every single time I use that same cutscene, it always gets copyright claimed. Every single time. And I always win the copyright claim, so when I dispute it, I always win. But it delays the video, and that's what's annoying, so I really hope it doesn't get claimed again and I have to dispute it. For people wondering what cutscene is copyrighted in San Andreas, it's not music. It's not music, it's the cutscene itself, and it's Rockstar Games. It's literally Rockstar. It says, on behalf of Rockstar Games when I get the claim. What cutscene is it? It's that San Andreas introduction cutscene, you know, the 20-minute cutscene before CJ arrives in Los Santos. You know when Sweet and Big Smoke are playing dice? In Grove Street, that scene,
so, yeah.
That cutscene always gets claimed every single time. It's really annoying. It's part of the game. It's a video game cutscene, and it gets claimed every single time. It's so annoying, and I fought off numerous copyright claims, but I'll win if I do get claimed. Don't be too concerned because I'll win the claim, but it just might delay the video for a little bit.
Bro, did you form a posse?
I did.
Oh, okay. It's not like.
Yeah, if you got hit by like a Maxim gun, like this, like your body would just be ripped up. Like it would be very brutal. So it's
I'm sure they were used back in World War I.
They were used in World War I primarily. I had to get off the gun, Molotov.
Ugh, something I hope I never get to see.
Bro, are you doing like a mission or something? It's not letting me do it.
Yeah, we're in a bounty mission right now.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's why.
Cayo Perico has too many prep missions, and the heist is way too hard. I don't think it's even worth it. Got to the vault, got killed, and had to start over. I think it's worth it. And guys, I know that I haven't, like, for half a year now, I haven't made the new Cayo Perico guide, but I'm gonna make a Cayo Perico guide, another one, I will. The next GTA money guide that I got, so I got a lore video coming out, a really big lore video. It's not just a small lore video, it's a big project. I got that coming out in a few days, and once that is done, the lore video, then I'm gonna work on a GTA money guide. And the next GTA money guide that I'll be working on will be a Smuggler's Run money guide, updated for 2023. And this guide will show you how to make millions of dollars in a basically like 1 or 2 days. Like, it's mostly like a day, but I guess I could see it going to 2 days for some people. But it'll show you, it's a very simple way, a little time consuming, but it's a very simple way how to make millions of dollars with Smuggler's Run. And it'll show you that. And after I'm done with that, I'll probably focus on Cayo Perico, eventually. But I'll eventually get to that too. Hang on a second here. But Cayo Perico is worth it, in my opinion, Feline. Yeah, just know, guys, I know I've said I'm making a lot of videos, but just the reason some videos take me really long to make is because I just got so many projects, I'm just doing so many things, and just playthroughs, and just lore videos, and just guides, and top 5s and top 10s, and just, you know, things get pushed aside, and just, you know, stuff like that, basically. But, you know, eventually, I still remember, I have pretty good memory, so I remember all the video ideas I have, I remember all of them, and I eventually do release all of them. Even the GTA 4 lore videos, like the one of Pegorino that I've planned, I still have that planned. So that's there's just so many other projects. That's just why they get delayed endlessly. But but I will do a lot of these, and expect to see a lot of lore videos in 2023. Patrick, you seen my super chat? Thank you, Matthew. And yeah, I saw it earlier. Yes, I did. If you refresh the page, it should change it here. These NPCs. Why isn't the mayor of Roque called for the National Guard? What can Sheriff Norris do to stop the gang wars? I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying Crime Boss. I know some people say that they don't like the game, but I am kind of enjoying it. When I play through Crime Boss though, it's not the gameplay itself, like the shooting and stuff like that, that I'm enjoying. That's kind of generic, it is. What I'm enjoying the most about Crime Boss is the empire building, like planning, buying stuff, hiring people. That's what I generally like about Crime Boss, is like running the empire. That's just what I generally like about it. So that's what I'm enjoying personally. Thank you, Victor.
From what I've seen, the game looks amazing. I get some Payday vibes from it, but some of the dialogue in it, especially the co-op mode, it's cringe to me, like almost Saints Row.
Yeah, the dialogue is cringe, but it's not Saints Row cringe though, but it is some cringe, yes. You know, the characters, you know, the reason is the characters in the game are still at least gangsters. At least they are actual gangsters. Their dialogue is sometimes a little cringe, but they're still criminals. Where the characters in Saints Row, they're not criminals, like in the new one. You know, it's just stupid. It's like they're gonna complain about student loans. So that's like, what's the point of even going to college if you're gonna be running this giant criminal empire? I don't understand that. So that's what I say about it. It's just, it was the developers were just completely out of touch with that. It didn't make sense. Considering that Chuck Norris stars as a cavalry sheriff in Roque City, he has federal jurisdiction and authority right off the bat, even clearance. Yeah, we'll see what his role is going to be like. But what I'll say about the is Chuck Norris actually the guy who does the voice for Sheriff Norris? I mean, they had to have his rights, they had to have his approval to have his appearance. But is he even the guy who voices Sheriff Norris? Because the thing is, though, have you guys noticed how Chuck Norris sounds like an AI bot in the, like, it's like his dialogue is just, like, really bad. It's not his dialogue in Crime Boss is just, it just doesn't sound like a person would say it. It sounds more like a robot.
Yeah, I can see that. It does sound like a robot, though. Unless that is actually how Chuck Norris sounds.
Well, I would be surprised if none of the Saints earned an accounting degree. Well, thank you, Alvinor. Yeah, they care about their student loans. How much is your hat? Oh, this hat I think was like $50 some time ago. I'm gonna get a new hat. I'm gonna get a new one of these though. I've been wearing this one for some time. I'm not gonna throw it out or anything, but I want to get a second one. Do a different one, different style one.
I have like 2 of those. Wait, no, 3 actually.
No, it's not GTA Online. I apologize for that. I'm not trying to. I'm honestly, I'm not trying to clickbait anyone. The reason that it says GTA Online is because I had internet problems earlier when I was playing, and my stream crashed. And then when I finally got back online, I just instantly started streaming. And since I cut the last stream out, I just ended it. When I was starting to have internet problems, I just ended the stream. And what happened was somehow it reset to Sunday's thing, which I had GTA Online and had the old GTA Online Sunday thumbnail. And that's why it says Sunday stream when it's supposed to say Reddit Online Friday stream. So apologize for that. But it's just, sorry for anyone who was misled by that. It was just my bad. Okay, wait until 4 minutes and I'll... Oh, hello, Uncle Paul. I recently got back into Reddit Online, and I experienced several horse wagon calling delays. It's annoying. It's either my network issues or Rockstar's fault. Yeah, this game has a lot of issues that Rockstar still have not addressed fully, honestly.
In here.
Would you ever consider playing the Dead War games? Thank you, Surplus Shepherd. Let me Google it really quick. That sounds familiar. What is Dead War?
See you again, no doubt.
Oh, Zombie Army? You're talking about this, the Sniper Elite? Oh, yeah. I would consider doing this. Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely consider that.
Oh, I'm trying to get that game.
Hey, Pro, I got another question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, what's up?
If you do a Dead Island 2 playthrough, because that game comes out, what, in a couple weeks or so, is it okay if Zom is taking part in it? Because I believe it's co-op. I just studied
Yeah,
that
but
one,
if I
guys.
do a Dead Island 2 playthrough, maybe I'll do a stream playthrough of that, because that's like a game that's gonna take, you know, some time to go through, run all the quests, and I don't want to make like 100 parts. So it's
Yeah,
I might do
your
like a
Far
stream.
Cry one.
I might just do a stream playthrough of it.
Like your Far Cry, what was it, 6 playthrough?
For anybody new that's coming in, I wasn't trying to clickbait. It was an accident. It was that my stream, it reset to the previous GT Online thing. That's why it might say GT Online Sunday. But if you refresh the page, it'll say Reddit Online, and it says Reddit Online, you know, thumbnail. I apologize to anybody about that. Take all the time you need, Pro. It's part of content creation that takes time and cannot be rushed out the door with a snap of a finger. I also have absolutely no confidence in Volition giving Saints Row a full recovery. Well, thank you, Dylan. Thanks, man.
Hey,
And thank
Pro,
you,
your
Victor.
thumbnail finally loaded in for me.
Thank you, Dylan Ham. I do appreciate it, man. And thank you, Victor. Crime Boss reminds me of an obscure PSP game called Scarface Money Power Respect. Very similar in terms of gameplay. Yeah, that was the strategy game, right? That was a PSP strategy game. I do remember that one a little bit. I never played it, but I do remember that one. Has everyone in the posse?
Hold on. I think I should be in by now. There we go.
Thank you also, Dylan Ham, largest super chat on the stream today. I do appreciate it, man. And thank you, Victor, and everyone who has donated. Thank you, JD. That first mission in Rockay City where you do the bank job, there was clearly marksman, shield, SWAT melee, riot control, and EOD enforcer units. Yeah, and I thought I did something wrong when I died in that mission. You know that one mission when you're playing as that woman at the gym? And then the 2 corrupt cops come in, and, like, the one guy comes in with the bat? Are you supposed to fail that? Because I couldn't figure out how to beat him. And I failed that that one. It says stay alive, so I'm assuming if I was supposed to dodge his attacks or something like that. But yeah, he, you know, I failed that mission. That mission was a bit hard.
I'm gonna get off now, okay, Pro?
Okay, I'll see you. Good night.
Later, Trio.
Okay, take care.
Canaan Lens 2 will be later this month. It'll be this month. What horse do you have? This is the Black Arabian horse.
I've had my fair share of difficult missions here on Destiny 2, the new Lightfall DLC. Try finding an overpowered guy with no abilities whatsoever and only solely relying on your guns. I died 8 times that mission.
What do you think of the Cash App founder incident and the federal government opening their version of Cash App called Federal Now? And how are you? It's the first time I heard about that. I don't like the idea of the federal government like creating an app for money personally. You know that.
Oh no.
And I don't like, you know, I don't like the government having like a massive control over the money either. Like, you know, money is just something this I just think more the market should decide that. I don't think the government should be getting involved in that too much, personally. Willsy's a good friend of mine. I watch a lot of his channel. He sees my videos too. Which videos are you telling me to watch from Willsy's channel? Do you think Micah is a psychopath? My friend said he was. I disagree. I think is knows what he's doing wrong and can tell the fact he's doing wrong, so that means he isn't a psychopath. Actually, no. You are actually, you have the definition of a psychopath wrong on that, Mr. Blue Wolf. Somebody who's insane, is unable to determine what's right and what's wrong. A psychopath is still able to determine what's right and what's wrong. So that's the thing, unless it's an insane psychopath, but there's a difference. If somebody's insane, they might not be able to understand what they're doing, whether something's right or wrong, because they're insane. But basically what a psychopath is a psychopath is somebody who has no empathy. They have no, they have no conscience. It's basically, think of somebody that has no conscience, none whatsoever. Even some of the worst people out there still have consciences, but psychopaths have none. So there's, it's basically somebody that isn't able to feel empathy for others. They don't care about others. So a psychopath doesn't love anybody. They're not capable of loving. They don't love their parents. They don't love their kids if they have them. They don't love their wife or husband if they're married. So there's so psychopaths, they really aren't able to feel love, you know, towards anyone. That's pretty much, you know, what psychopathy is. You know, there's a lot of different, you know, there's more to it than just that, but that's pretty much it, is they're unable to feel empathy for others. And so, while a psychopath doesn't have a conscience, they still understand, to an extent, what's right and what's wrong. Like, for example, Dimitri in GTA 4 is a psychopath, he is. But does Dimitri understand what's right, what's wrong? He definitely does. He definitely knows that screwing Nico over is, you know, not okay, but he does it anyways because he doesn't care. So that's, so it's the same thing with Micah, is Micah just doesn't care, but he knows that that's wrong, that's bad. So that's it. The way, you know, the way we look at things personally, like, you know, most people, is, you know, we look at it on more of a, we look at things on a moral level and a consequence level. You know, when we, basically, the reason that most people don't do horrible things is for two reasons. The first reason is because there's a moral thing to it, is you think it's wrong. Your conscience, you think about something and you think, if I did that, that's bad, that's wrong. You know, I don't want to hurt anybody else, I don't want that on my conscience. A lot of people think about that. The second reason that people don't do bad things is because of fear of consequences. Psychopaths, they only have the fear of consequences. They don't have the fear of conscience. So a psychopath knows if they do something bad, that they're going to get punished for that. And that's what they fear. They fear punishment. They fear retaliation. They fear that. But when it comes to conscience, like screwing somebody over or anything like that, they don't care about the victims at all. If a psychopath gets sentenced to life in prison, they're going to cry. They're not going to cry because they killed somebody. They're going to cry because of the fact that they're going to prison. So that's pretty much what it's about, personally. So yes, Micah is a psychopath. That's what I'll say about him. He, you know, who is Micah loyal to? Who is Micah like? Who does Micah care about? Nobody. Micah only cares about Micah. So yes, he is one. Dimitri is one as well. I hope I answered your question. I know a little bit went into it a little bit, but... Ray Bulgarian has no conscience. Well, Ray Bulgarian doesn't really have a conscience, but he's, at least to completely, but he's less worse than Dimitri. And the reason is because, you know, Ray liked Luis. Like, he liked him. I wouldn't say he liked him as, like, a friend, but he liked him as, like, somebody that worked for him. It was just, Ray's problem is that he blows things completely out of proportion and he gets too angry. He has massive anger issues. That's his problem. And so when he finds out that Luis was in that, involved in that diamond deal, even though he liked Luis and liked him working for him, he gets all pissed off and thinks that Luis betrayed him when he didn't. And so that's what it's about. So that's what I'll say about that. Okay, see here. Okay. Okay. Destroy the moonshine still.
Alright, I think I can able to sneak him out.
Hey, Pro, it's been 4 years since your last Red Dead Redemption 2 story playthrough. I was wondering if you were planning on doing another one. Yeah. I probably will do another one in the future, I just don't know when. But, if I do a playthrough of Red Dead Redemption 2, guys, would you rather that I did Red Dead Redemption 1 first, and Red Dead Redemption 2 after, or would you rather Red Dead 1 first, and then Red Dead 2 after? Because Red Dead 1 takes place technically after Red Dead 2, so that was just, I'll come back to it one day. I probably will come back to it one day, I don't know when I'll play it, but I'll come back to it one day and I'll do a playthrough of the story. 1 first, Poison the moonshine still, okay.
Well, I'm not sure I will do because I'm not really much stealthy guy.
Hang on, I got this quiet, wait.
Oh, okay. Alright, I'll stay.
Don't go near the house, don't get detected.
Okay.
Okay. I took 3 of them out quietly, okay. This mission you can do quietly, people do not know that. You're actually supposed to. Poison moonshine, okay. Yeah, I bet a lot of people actually did not know that you can do this mission quietly. Because if you get detected, you have to blow up the moonshine if you get detected. But it's, you can do that. People don't know about that.
Oh, you're destroying, you're poisoning the moonshine.
Yes,
still?
okay. Yeah, let's just go now. Get out of here. We're good.
I did successfully complete those before.
Everyone's get out of the area and it'll be good.
Come on, horsey.
What happened earlier? A lot of connection problems. I apologize for that, Kevin. Any GTA Pro? Yes. San Andreas lore video is coming out very soon, and then Sunday will be a GTA stream. $100 player bounty nearby. I bet that's anomalous. Anomalous, join the posse here. Because it's, if you join our posse, you're probably gonna have a bunch of people chasing us, and that'll be probably funny. So that'll, yeah.
You in $100. I got plenty of money. Hey, Pearl, I have like... Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to say that I have like 52 grand so far.
Okay, Anomalous, wait, let me make a spot for him. Join the posse now, Anomalous. Genuine question. Have you ever dressed yourself as a South Park avatar? You have. If not, would you ever do it? No, I haven't, but I would consider doing it one day. Thank you, Victor. And thank you, Ian. Thank you, Unknown. Thank you, guys.
That would be so cool, though.
I'd rather not. It's what? It's out here. Take me to jail. You want to be taken to jail? Okay. I'll take you to jail, but it's, okay. Up to you. Do you know why Donald Love vanished? I'll do a video on that one day. What the?
What the heck? What the heck? He just glitched up on my screen.
Okay. How's the rental property going? My tenants are moving out at the end of June. And so, you know, that's when their lease expires. They gave me positive views and everything like that. They were happy. They're just going back to another state to do business in, because they run a business in a few states. But, they recommended me their employee. He wanted to rent out my house, but it's, you know, he still has to sign the contract. So we made a new lease, but he still has to sign that. Yeah, so I guess we'll see how that goes. They, you know, she told me that he's a good guy, but she doesn't get along with him personally, and I didn't know what she meant by that exactly. He's my tenant, and I said, you know, what is the problem? Does he have an attitude problem or something like that? And she said, no, it was just a disagreement at work. But he gets along with others, so I don't know what that was about. So, you know, I'm gonna see. You know, hopefully, you know, this is, you know, another tenant that I'm gonna be willing to have for another year. But it's, you know, really hope that there's no issues, because my last tenants were awesome people, and there was no issue whatsoever, and so I hope that there's no issues with this, this new tenant. Do you have the GTA 5 Platinum? Got it a while back. Thank you. I have GTA 5 Platinum on PS3 and PS4, but not on PS5. Thank you, Wesley. Thank you, Alan Rowe. Thank you for sponsoring my channel. Okay, we can do that anomalous. Hey, Pro, did you manage to see the new Star Wars Jedi Survivor gameplay from a couple days back? Will you do a playthrough on the 28th when it's out? 28th, maybe. I did a playthrough the last one, but, the 28th is that's GTA 4's anniversary, isn't it? So I might be busy with GTA 4 content that day. Do you think Dutch ever cared about some people? Say Dutch didn't care for anyone but himself, but I disagree. I think he did care for Hosea and Arthur, but he did. Well, Dutch was basically kind of like Big Smoke in a way, that his personality-wise. It's that, did he consider Arthur and Hosea and those people friends? Yeah, he did. Just like Big Smoke considered CJ and Sweet his friends. But the reason that, you know, Big Smoke went against CJ and Sweet, and he went again, and Dutch went against Arthur and John, is because Arthur and John weren't going along with his plan. Just like Sweet and CJ were not going along with his plan either. That's what it was ultimately about. They were his friends, but it was that if they don't listen to him, he's gonna screw them over if they don't listen to him. That's pretty much what it is. His ideal thing would have been for everybody to listen to him. So that's what I personally think about it. I think that Dutch was always a really bad person. I think he just hit it. That's what I personally think. I don't think he was like a psychopath, but he was like, you know, just not a good man. Ever, really. That's what I personally think about him. Can you kick out people that break things in your house? It depends on the state, and depends on the extent to the damage. It depends on what exactly happens. It depends, because if somebody breaks something, that's wholly dependent on what's broken, and it's dependent on the circumstances regarding how that got broken. You know, for example, if the, you know, let's just say that the faucet breaks or something like that. You know, and that could totally not be somebody's fault. You know, somebody thinks just break on their own. Faucet breaks, you know, you come and fix it. You know, I've had, you know, in that house, I've only had, like, 2 issues. Like, one, was that, the faucet in the bathroom, in the bathtub, was just dripping water. I sent, a guy that, does jobs for me sometimes. He came over, he fixed it really quickly, I paid him, and that was, taken care of. The second thing was the furnace wasn't heating in the winter, but that wasn't because the furnace was perfectly fine, it was brand new. It was that, the problem was that there was a lot of snow because it was right after a blizzard, and the snow built up outside and was blocking the furnace exhaust pipe outside, and that's why. And when he cleared that out of snow, it's, heat up the house perfectly. So, but if you're talking about vandalism, because vandalism, when people break things, that's, vandalism is when you intentionally break things, when you intentionally destroy stuff. That's what vandalism is. If it's vandalism, if they're destroying your house, yeah, you do have a right to throw them out if they're destroying it. There's different legal procedures depending on the state, but in almost every place, if they're breaking stuff in your property, you have the right to throw them out because they are renting the property, but that doesn't give them the right to destroy the property. So that's what I'll say about that. Is my tenants have been good people. They have not broken anything. There have been no issues. And I really hope that this new guy that comes in, I really hope there's no issues too. That's just what I really hope for. So that's okay, let me our next place here. Go to rig station. Okay, let's go here, next place. Okay. Do I prefer Xbox or PlayStation? I'm more of a PlayStation guy, but I doesn't really, I play
crap.
Xbox as well.
Oh crap, I took a wrong turn. What the heck? And I should have paid attention more. I gotta be careful out God.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you, Nocteru, no, that's from Zombies? Well, thank you, I think that's from World at War. Red Dead or GTA, I like both of them. But, I'm gonna say, though, do you know, in my experience being a landlord, though, do you know what the worst kind of tenant that you can possibly have is? The worst one? The worst tenant that, in my opinion, isn't even somebody that doesn't pay. Because, if they don't pay, you can throw them out. You have to give them a month's notice in a lot of places, but if they're not, paying, they can't live on the property. But, the worst kind of tenant that you can have isn't even somebody that doesn't pay. It's not even somebody that vandalizes. Well, I guess it depends on the vandalism. But if they're vandalizing or they're not paying, you can throw them out. It obviously depends on the state, like I said. But, those people you can get rid of pretty quickly because you can throw them out. But, the worst kind of tenant, in my opinion, is the tenant that pays the rent. They don't necessarily destroy anything, but what they do is the person is just a really nasty person, like a really, annoying person. Like maybe they're really loud, maybe they, they curse people out all the time, stuff like that. Now, why is a tenant like that the worst, even though they're paying? The reason that they're the worst is because when you have somebody like that, it's going to be very unreasonable dealing with a person like that, and they're going to constantly cause drama, and they're going to constantly, cause dumb things to happen. And what's going to happen is, say that your tenant is, like, being really loud. Like, let's say that your tenant just blasts, like, music at, like, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and, like, wakes up your neighbors. If something like that happens, you can't throw that person out for, blasting music really loud, but what's gonna happen is your neighbors, so everybody that's in the surrounding area, is gonna know that this person lives in your house, and then they're gonna hate you, and they're gonna be like, you rented your house out to this guy, now this guy's causing a bunch of drama in the neighborhood and just constantly arguing with us and insulting us. And so now your neighbors are gonna have a bad view of you, and you're gonna look bad in the neighborhood. And so that's what I personally think is the worst kind of tenant, is somebody that causes drama, because then your neighbors are gonna get pissed off at you, because they're gonna blame you for bringing that person into the property. And so there's no way to tell if somebody's gonna cause drama or not, because somebody could pass the background check and they'll still cause drama, because they're not necessarily causing a crime, they're just causing drama. And so that's That's what I would say is like the worst kind of like tenant that you can have, somebody that causes drama, because you can't really throw them out. But what I will say about that situation, if you are running a rental property and you encounter somebody like that, like you have a nightmare tenant that does something stupid like that, where they're just pissing off your neighbors and everything like that, basically what I would do at that point is just tell your neighbors, apologize to your neighbors about that, let them know the situation, and what I would do is, you can't throw them out. So just wait until their lease expires. Might be some time, but the moment that their lease expires, you can tell them to move out. You got to give them a month's notice in most places, but just tell them to move out. You don't have to give them a specific reason. You just tell them to leave. That's it, pretty much. When their lease expires, you have no obligation to renew it with them. So you can just tell them, get out, go somewhere else. That's it. You don't have to give them a specific reason. You just tell them, I want the house back. That's it. And they have to move out once the lease expires. That's it, pretty much. So thank you, Ants, for the super chat.
I have like few neighbors that they don't like me just because of my car, and I'm basically locally hated, which I'm proud of it. Well, the thing is, like, it's not my fault, and I just don't usually do it at occasion, like on purpose, like.
Okay, and wait, what? Why do your neighbors have a problem?
Well, so my stepdad sometimes throws a party, throws a random party, for celebration or something. A few times they did throw birthday parties. So we did get noise complaints a few times, and one time
was this party really late at night?
Yeah, it was very late.
Well, that's probably try not to have parties probably late. Because that stuff like that does happen. People have different sleeping schedules. But yeah, if it's daytime, and they're making a noise complaint, they can't really. If it's daytime, if somebody makes a noise complaint, that really doesn't do anything unless it's significant. If it's something extremely significant, or it's something that people are hearing all the way down the block, then yeah, they can make a noise complaint. But if it's in the daytime and it's just somebody hearing music coming from your backyard, can't really do anything about that. So that's that. But the things that I just personally don't like when that neighbors do is what I personally don't like. It's not even noise. I just personally can't stand it when people smoke, and what happens is the smoke then goes towards property of mine. I just don't like that. I just don't like I hate going into a backyard and just smelling cigarette smoke. I hate that. Or smelling marijuana smoke. I don't have a problem if people want to smoke cigarettes. But it's I just don't like it when it's on my property, their smoke blows over, and then I have to inhale that garbage. That's just personally, I don't like that. It's something I've never liked, personally.
I hate cigarettes altogether. Not only do they kill people, but they're just terrible.
Well, I mean, you can't really tell people they can't, but it's but I'm just saying is that when people smoke, they should just know where they're smoking, because sure, you can smoke in your backyard. There's nothing against that, but just be mindful to your neighbors. That's just what I would say about it. Dmitri is a raider psychopath. Micah is an opportunist. Claude is indifferent. Makarov is a warmonger, and Starkweather is a serial sadist manhunt. Well, I would say that both Dmitri and Micah are psychopaths, JD. And thank you, Ants. Thanks, man. I saw your comment. Thank you, Buckbeak. Hey, Pro, are you planning on playing LA Noire or Bully in the future? And have you gotten the platinum for Ghost of Tsushima? I haven't gotten Tsushima platinum, but I will in the future. And I'll play LA Noire in the future. Hey, baby, when you coming back to Liberty City? We need you back, baby. Your baby and pal Lester. We need a private investigator. Don't call me. I wasn't really that helpful. Oh, you're saying it like Lester was. Lester the guy from Chinatown Wars. But yeah, thank you, Jay. I'm glad that you watched my playthrough of that, though. But yeah, Lester was really dumb in the in Chinatown Wars. That's.
And there is one time I was having fun blasting fireworks during New Year's Eve, and that neighbor got mad about it. I'm like, dude, it's New Year's Eve, first of all, and just let me have fun. And they didn't complain about my car too, loud or it's not. I can't control the noise of my car.
Let me go.
You mean you can't? But it's when it's 3 minutes here, just deliver the target. Do you have a preference to renting to couples only? Well, the thing about it is I have to rent to couples. That's who I have to rent to, because, you know, my house, very rarely will you find somebody that's like a single person that is going to rent out a house like that. It's almost always a couple. So it's, you know, they want extra rooms. But it's, yeah, I would say that, yeah, I don't really have a preference. Like, personally, I'd rather have less people in the house, because if there's less people in the house, there's less chances of something going wrong, something breaking or something like that. But, you know, you're not really gonna find a person by themselves that's gonna, you know, rent out, like, a, you know, a house. So I mean, it does happen, but it's not that much. No, you're not, Mr. Waifu. Oh, okay, JD. Okay. And hello, Vex. How are you, man?
There in a cell. Take him down there. There. Good old-fashioned blood money.
Yes. You know, anybody that associates with Dutch is pretty much done. Okay, Anomalous. We'll try that next stream. Do you think you'd make any more videos of the horrors that the retail service industry? Okay, so you guys remember, like, 2-3 months ago, I made that video on, like, my mental health on YouTube. I would consider making another video just like that, but instead of just talking about my mental health this time, I would talk about, like, just the horrible things that happened to me in retail, and just basically making, like, an hour-long video, just explaining, you know, why I was unhappy and stuff, if you guys want to see that. But I would explain just in general, like, why retail sucks, and just, you know, just why I just don't, why I don't like it. You know, that it's just, retail is like a good first job to have to build a little experience, but it's not a place you want to stay in for some time. It's, let me tell you something. Shane from The Walking Dead. Happy Friday, everyone. I've seen some of your comments on Walking Dead and Sopranos. Yeah, that's Shane's line. Let me tell you something. I remember that, too. He always says that.
He's such a good actor, too.
Thank you, George, for this super chat. Retail does suck. It sucks if you work in it. I mean, certain companies like Costco, like, I'll say, there are certain companies like Costco that actually treat their workers fairly. Like, Costco's like one company doesn't pull a lot of the stuff the other companies do. But 90% of retail companies, most people that work in retail, can tell you just how scummy the companies are. They're not, you know, good companies. But also, guys, what I'll tell you is do not let, now, I asked this question before, but a lot of retail places, and a lot of fast food places, so retail places and fast food places are notorious for this, but they, oh, you're a landlord too, okay, Bilo, but, what I'll say about this is retail companies oftentimes are guilty of breaking a certain law. A lot of them. They oftentimes break a law. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of the retail workers actually don't realize they're breaking the law. Can anybody tell me in the comments, what law do you think a lot of retail places break? Because the store that I worked at, they broke this law all the time. Does anybody know? What law do you think a lot of retail places break? I want to see if people can guess this in the comments. Get over the... What's chasing us? Wolves here? Yup, people got it. People got it in the comments. People got it right away. I suspect there's some people in the comments that worked in retail or fast food, and they know exactly what I'm talking about here. That's probably why people guessed it. But if anybody's had this happen to them, let me know in the comments down below right now. But basically, what retail places break is they break laws. That's what they break. So in my country, in the United States, you are legally allowed to take a break. You're supposed to have a break. And the policy, you know, it was where I worked. It was that if you work 8 hours, you get like a 30-minute break, and I think it was like a 15-minute break. And if you work more than 8 hours, like you work 9 hours, you get a 30-minute break, and you get 2 paid 15-minute breaks. And what happens is, so if you work under 6 hours, under 5 hours, I think, you get a 15-minute paid break. And what happens is, these places will break those laws all the time. This is the law, that you're allowed to take a break. And what happens is, when I worked in retail, what would always happen, this was so annoying, this was so bad, where basically what happened was that these companies, whenever I would try to take a break, the manager would just say to me, oh, you know, you can't go on break right now. I'm like, why can't I go on break right now? Even though I've been for hours, I've been working for hours at this point, like 3 or 4 hours, and manager says you can't go on break. It's like, why can't I go on break? It's like, well, you know, we're really busy right now, we need everybody here, you know, we got a lot of work to do, if you go on break, we're not gonna be able to finish the work, you can go on break later. You know, that's what they always say. And then what happens is later never comes, and you know, you go through the whole shift, and they basically get you to go, they make you work through the whole shift without taking your break. That is illegal. And if they try to do something like that to you, report them. You know, there's probably some state labor place that you can report it to wherever you live, if you live in the US. But if they try to do something like that to you, you know, just report them. If they try to pull something like that to you, because they cannot do that. They can't break laws. And honestly, like, when I was, like, you know, working in retail, I didn't know how to stand up for myself, and so I wouldn't go on break. I wouldn't. Because I would just listen to the manager, because I thought the manager's word was everything. This is like, you know, this is like over 10 years ago when I first started working, and so I didn't know a lot of this stuff. And you know what the really messed up thing about this is? I was a very naive kid when I started working in retail, and what happened is I didn't know that I actually was legally allowed to take a break. I didn't know that. I thought that it was more based on the company. I didn't think there was like a law that you were allowed to take a break. I guess I was just naive for thinking that. But what happened was, the first week that I was working, like the first week, I had 8-9 hour shifts the first week. And I stood at the cash register for 8-9 hours. No break. None. And the manager saw that I was standing there. Not once did the manager tell me, hey, you want to go on break? He knew this was my first job. He knew I never worked a job before. Not once did the manager knew that. The manager knew that I didn't know about that, and he took advantage of me for that. And what happened was my coworkers actually told me, are you getting tired? You don't want to go on break? And I'm like, I get a break? And they're like, yeah, you get a break. It's law. So I was so pissed off at my manager for not telling me that I could take a break. I worked for like a week and a half, you know, 8-9 hour shifts without taking a break, and he never told me that I could take a break. So that's what that's basically what. But, you know, if your manager pulls something like that on you, you know, they say to you, you know, you can't go on break right now, you know, we're busy, you know, we got stuff to do, we got work to do, you just tell them this. You tell them that, you know, it's labor law, you want to get reported, I'll report you. Or, you know, you tell them this, you tell them, you're going to pay me time and a half, and when they say, why would I pay you time and a half? Because I'm working for my break. So that's you know, pretty much that. So you have no obligation, you know, everyone has a right to eat. And so, you know, they have no right to tell you that you can't go on break. That's just disgusting. You know, they might be able to tell you what times you can go on break, sure, but they can't tell you that you can't go on break. So they can't do that to you. So I'm just saying is that, you know, stand up for yourself. Don't let these people, like, roll over you. Don't let them do that to you, because it's just really messed up. And it's yeah, that. Like that. You know, I'll tell you something. If I would open my mouth. If I was working in retail still, I'd say something, because I was just, you know, back then I didn't know how to stand up for myself, and this happened all the time. And I remember it was my coworker, she told me that when you're working a 9-hour shift, you get 2 paid 15s. Nobody told me about that. They didn't tell me about that in training. I know you get a 30-minute break, but nobody told me that you get 2 paid 15s. Nobody told me about that. And so it was that they didn't tell you that in training. Why don't they tell you that in training? Why don't they tell you in training when you can take breaks? They don't tell you that because they don't want you to know. And so my coworker told me that you get 2 paid 15-minute breaks when you're on a 9-hour shift, and basically she said they don't want you to take them. And then she's like, watch this. They're not going to want you to go on break. And then she basically called over the assistant manager to the front while I was there standing with her. And she said, like, you know, I'm going to take my two 15s right now. And then the assistant manager's like, what? What do you mean? Like, you know, stuff like that. Like, she didn't want to give us clear answers. She knew what she meant, but she didn't want to directly say no also to that. So it was that. So the assistant manager was just being scummy as well on that. So that's just what I'll say, is that these companies are fully aware of that. They know what they're doing. They're breaking the law. And I'm going to say is, you know, don't let them get away with it. You know, if they pull that crap on you and they try to tell you can't go on break, report them. You know, it's not snitching or anything like that. It's your time to rest. You have a right to have a break, and you have a right to eat. And they can't tell you that you don't. So that's
Really?
Yeah, really. You have a right to eat. You have a right to take a break.
They 4-hour shift, and I've never taken a break ever.
Well, if it's a 4-hour shift, I don't know if you do get a break on a 4-hour shift. I think if it's 5 hours. If it's 5 hours, you do get a break. But if it's a 4-hour shift, I don't think I could be wrong on that. I don't know whether that's the law.
Does that vary from state to state?
It varies states. I guess states vary. There are certain federal laws. So there's certain federal laws on breaks too. I would have to look everything up again. But there's federal laws, and then there's also state laws But that's just
Okay.
what I'll say about that. Is
I'll have
You
to
know-
look up Florida's because I want to know that. Because my feet kill me after every shift, and I'd like to at least sit down for like a few minutes.
yeah, and that what are you? You're a cashier?
No, I work the carry out at HomeSense. I carry stuff out to people's cars and get lamps down and sort of stuff.
Are you
Home goods.
Do people try to give you tips?
People do give me tips, yes.
Now here's the question: Is does your job let you take the tips?
I have not asked.
I would not ask, because if you ask, they're gonna be onto you. So it's see if you can find out for like a company handbook or something like that what their position is on tips, or better yet, ask a coworker that you trust that might know. Don't ask a supervisor or manager, because then they might spy on you. And they might try to use that as an excuse to get rid of you if they don't like you. So,
Okay.
you know, but there's a lot of places that they don't let you take tips. If you take a tip, they'll fire you. That's like their policy. And so what I used to work in retail, the policy was if you take a tip, you get fired. That was the policy was. And so I didn't take tips, even though so many customers offered me tips for different things. Like, I would take customers' groceries to their car and put it all in their car. I would help them with the photo machine for hours, and I would just deny tips when people tried to give it to me because I was scared about getting fired. But like the last few months I started work, I started taking tips. Nobody noticed, and that was just it. You know, if somebody's offering to give you money, that's between you and that person. The company has no right to get involved. And so just don't let them tell you that, you know, you can't take a tip. And yeah, that's just what I'll say about that too.
I did get a $20 tip recently, though.
Oh, that's really good. That's good.
Yeah, the managers love me there. I'm really good with all the staff there and everything.
Hello, Pros Life Buddy. Hope you're
Good job.
happy. Thank you, Rashawn. Thanks, man. If I am captured or killed, I expect all of you to say with tears in your eyes, he was a saint despite butchering the entirety of Blackwater. Thank you, Anomalous. Thanks, man.
Come on, die.
Yeah, this wagon can blow up. I know that. Oh, I can't move this?
I'm kidding. Bro, I just pointed a gun at it and as a joke. I was just kind of trolling it.
What?
Pointing at the wagon. Oh, I was pointing at a wagon and see what do you react.
But, let me ask the chat now. Has that happened to any of you guys? And anybody? I'm sure there's people here that work in retail or worked in retail or in the fast food industry. Has that happened to you when you try to go on break and the manager just says to you, like, oh, you can't go on break right now, we're busy. And they try to make you feel guilty. That's the scummy thing. They try to make you feel guilty for going on break. They're like, oh, if you go on break, we're gonna have more work to do right now. That's what they do. They basically, it's just so scummy what they do. Has anybody had, like, that, that happen to them in the comments here? Sure, there's one person that's had that happen to them.
Bro, believe it or not, I worked until around like 5.
Damn it.
I basically gave my workers a 1 hour break besides myself. Like 1 hour break because we work until like 5. Like we just like basically whenever we arrive the house that we need to do, like we usually arrive like around like 8 or 9 or 7. Depends where we go. Like we usually take breaks like around like 12, and we take about an hour break.
Look at the chat. Yes, at nightclub. The manager even reminds us to take a break. Well, your manager is a decent human being. My grocery job never allowed us to take tips, but it should be up to the customer to decide whether they want to give tips or not. Yeah. Yeah, I've quit a job over no breaks before. Oh, wow, yeah. When my boss tried that, I went on break anyway with both middle fingers up. Got fired, but worth it, especially to collect unemployment. Well, thank you for telling me, though, Princess, but I'm sorry that happened to you. Your boss is just a scumbag. What do you consider a proper way of Rockstar to end GT Online? Give us one final big heist and mansions. Another heist like Cayo Perico and mansions. And that'll be the best final DLC ever. Yeah, at Home Depot when I worked in the paint department and was the only one. The manager on duty told me to go out there to mix paint. I did it, but just restarted my 15-minute when I went back. Huh, yeah.
Speaking of scummy bosses, bro, I saw this video that this guy, he got into an accident recently, and he was on his way to work, and he had to show the boss that so he could show proof that he was in an accident. And this boss decided, well, at first, he did feel bad and felt sorry at first, but as the boss sent him a second text, he was like, there's still no excuse to be late for work.
What, if you get into an accident? That's...
Yeah.
What? That's...
It did really happen. I saw the video on social media. Like,
The
that
hell?
guy who was on the way to work, and he got to an accident, and his boss decided to be like, still no excuse to be late for work. And I'm like, what?
What the... Okay,
Is
that's...
it for real?
That's, yeah, that's,
Yeah. Yeah, I was shocked, to be honest. I feel really bad for him. I'm like, this guy cannot be serious.
I never had a break issue in Kroger, but they would leave me by myself to close meat and seafood counters, taking an hour at least each, and restock everything, and they got mad when stuff wasn't done. I know how you feel. I hate when that happens. I hate when they leave you alone, like, and they expect you to do everything. I hate that. You know, that's really annoying. When I was in, retail, you know, they wouldn't just expect me to ring. You know what they expected me to do when I was in, retail? They expect me to ring. They expect me to vacuum the front and face the aisles in the front too, and they expect me to also clean the counter, like actually like Windex everything, clean it all down. How am I gonna do all of that at once? And we were in the middle of a shopping plaza too, so it was just line after line after line. I can barely get off the register for even just a few seconds because there's somebody constantly coming in. Like, I probably would help, like, you know, hundreds of customers in a day. I'm not even exaggerating by that, because it's the amount of people that would come in at once. And they come over and they act like I'm slacking or something when I'm constantly ringing people up. And, you know, what I hated so much is I hated when I literally left the register. I would leave the register, I would go around the register, and I would use the vacuum. I used the vacuum for maybe like 10 seconds, customer shows up, I gotta turn off the vacuum, stop you vacuuming, put the vacuum back on the stand, go back around to the register, ring the customer up, and then I walk back around, get on the vacuum for less than 5 seconds, and our customer shows up, and then go back around, rinse and repeat. It was so annoying. It's like, wouldn't it just make much more sense to have one person just vacuum and just one person constantly ringing? Wouldn't that just make much more sense? But it's just these companies are just so stupid and just so annoying when how they micromanage everything. It's just disgusting. It's just... What I'll say about this also, did you hear that Chicago has actually voted in a mayor that's actually even softer on crime than Lightfoot? They're getting what they asked for. Yeah. And, well, I mean, I don't think that anybody deserves that, you know, increase in crime. What I'm just saying is about the mayor is I do know what you're saying about that. That guy, you know, wants to defund the police. He's not a good mayor. So I just, yeah, the guy's just an idiot. But I feel bad for people in Chicago that don't want to deal with stuff like that, and it's, you know, it's just, I read that recently that out of all murders in Chicago, only like 20% are solved. So I do feel bad for a lot of people. Nobody deserves that, but it's, you know, nobody deserves the crime that's going on in Chicago, but I don't know, you know, why people would vote for, you know, somebody like that. I'm not trying to get into politics, but just that guy's campaign was pretty much defund the police, and so that's just not a good policy to have. So that's,
yeah, that'll like make things worse. It's based, it'll be based turn that city to Gotham City, like real life Gotham City.
You know, the problem with the problem with, like, you know, just what I'll say about this is, like, the problem with the politics is that it's just so it's just that there's both. I'll tell you something from a law enforcement perspective. From a law enforcement perspective, even though I was never a cop, I went to school for that. I graduated bachelor's degree in law enforcement. But, you know, from everything that I've studied, everything that I've read about, you know, everything that I've you know, studied, looked up in that regard, I'll tell you is that both sides, when it comes down to it, you know, both sides do really stupid things when it comes to the police. And the stupidest thing that people on the left do when it comes to the police is they think that they should cut the police or defund the police. That's the stupidest thing that they do, because that's just going to cause an increase in crime. Another really stupid thing that they tend to do is when they abolish bail and they also decrease punishments and they let violent offenders out. That's a really bad policy, and that's not going to cause problems. That's going to cause a lot of problems. The stupidest thing the right do when it comes to policing is they think that they're completely against a lot of rehabilitation programs. There's a lot of programs that are actually good for rehabilitating inmates and helping them to actually find jobs, and that's actually critical, because if you help an inmate find a job afterwards, you have to help them find a good job and something that helps them pay the bills, they're much less likely to commit crimes again. But some people believe that you should only punish, and they're completely against any form of rehabilitation. My personal view on it is that some people deserve rehabilitation. Some people do. Certain people that don't commit like horrific crimes deserve a second chance at life. And I don't think that if somebody does like a stupid mistake in their life, they get involved in like a gang or something like that. They get involved into a gang, they fall into a bad crowd, and maybe they deal drugs or something like that. And then they sit in prison for like a few years, and they change their life around. They get an education in prison. They want to like live a productive life. That shouldn't hold the person back and just ruin their life because they just made like a dumb mistake when they were younger. So I do believe in second chances. So that's what I would just say, is that the dumbest thing the right do is that they don't believe in enough rehabilitation. I think there should be more rehabilitation. But then the dumbest thing the left does is when it's defunding the police, that crap. So it's like both sides do dumb things. But right now it's like what's going on in Chicago with just that thing with just they want to just defund the police. That's just stupid, and that's going to cause a bunch of problems, and there's definitely going to be an increase in crime. So that's, Chicago doesn't have enough resources to also patrol a lot of the neighborhoods. Like the south side of Chicago, that's where most of the gangs are in there, that they're going to have a lot of problems. So that's pretty much, my personal viewpoint on it, is I think there's both sides that do dumb things regarding it, but the issue is that there's no compromise. There's no way to like get in the middle and like, tell, if you have somebody that's like from the right, that's like, this is my idea of how policing should be, and there's like somebody from the left is like, this is how my idea of how policing should be, and like you try to explain it to both of them, no, we should take some of your ideas, but like both of them don't want to listen, and they're both just like, they both think that you're against them, and they'll both accuse you of being either left or right because you don't agree with them. You don't agree with one thing that they're saying, and they'll accuse you of being part of the other side, even though you're just trying to be in the middle. And that's like, that's what I personally think is the problem with the divide, is just people just stick to just one spurt in view, and they don't want to think outside the box. They just think this is my way or the highway. And if you disagree with me on just at least this one thing, well, screw you. That's basically how a lot of people think these days, and I think that's personally the problem. And I think that with a situation like that, I think nothing's gonna get done. Personally, if people keep thinking like that, they keep thinking that mindset of, so I gotta support my team all the time, my party, my team. I gotta be on board with them 100% of the time, and that's like, I think that's personally the problem with it, because I've seen really toxic people on both sides. And it's just ridiculous. And so like when I tell you something is when I was like younger, I used to be like a really libertarian kind of guy when I was younger. I still like small government. I don't like the government getting involved. I like low taxation. I don't like the government getting involved in the economy. But like when I studied law enforcement in school, one of the things that personally changed my view on it was rehabilitation. Because beforehand, I pretty much believed that every single criminal should just get punished. Punish, no forgiveness. That's basically what I used to believe. But when I studied it in school, I started thinking like, there's some people who fall into a bad crowd. And and they change. People do change. And so somebody shouldn't have their life ruined because they fell into a bad crowd and did something stupid. If they served their time in prison, if they didn't kill somebody, if they didn't do something that bad, they should serve their time in prison, and learn to be a productive member of society. Society should not hold them down and hold them back and just not let them achieve their full potential. If they've reformed, they're a changed person, they're not a criminal anymore, they should be given a second chance. And that's, just reading about all those situations where people, fall into a bad crowd, it just changed my view on that completely. And so I started believing more in rehabilitation. I still believe in extreme punishments, though, so it's not that I'm just complete rehabilitation. Somebody who's, my personal viewpoint is anybody who kills somebody should be in prison for life. Life or death penalty, either one. They should not, if somebody murders somebody else, they should never be released from prison. That's my personal viewpoint. But for other crimes, I personally think, like, if you're a member of a gang and you dealt drugs or you robbed somebody, as long as you didn't kill them, I think the person, if they're willing to change, they should be given a second chance at life and forgiveness. Obviously, when they serve their time. So that's it personally. But we have one side We have one side who basically believes that the police should be entirely defunded, and we don't need the police. That's stupid. It's going to cause a lot of problems. And then we have the other side who basically thinks that there should be no rehabilitation. Like, no, just punishment, punishment, punishment. And they're completely against any kind of government programs that also help people to find jobs. So there's a, you know, if you take some ideas from both sides and just create like a middle view of this, you could have a much better system when it comes to policing and just enforcing the law. But unfortunately, there's just, you know, people that just don't want to, you know, they don't want to listen, personally, in that, and just in that, molesters shouldn't be given a second chance at life. No, I agree with you fully. Anybody who molests, anybody who rapes, you know, I don't think they should be forgiven. I don't think they should be given a second chance, personally. But when I say people should be given a second chance, I'm talking about people that don't kill somebody, people that don't rape, you know, people that, like, commit a robbery or something like that, or people that are, like, you know, sell drugs. As long as they didn't kill somebody, if they're willing to change, and they're willing to get out of that, you know, criminal mindset, and they're willing to live a productive life, I don't see why they can't be given a second chance at life. But, you know, it's just the politics, and I you know, I'm just trying not to get political on this, because I tend to stay away from it. It's, you know, gaming channel. What I'll just say is the politics sometimes are just so toxic, because it's like everybody has to be just on one side. That's just what, like, where I'm from New York originally. And, like, where I'm from in New York, if you go to New York and you talk to some of these, like, you know, far-left people in New York, and you just tell them, you know, I agree with 95% of what you guys are saying, but I also disagree with gun control. You know what the far-left people will tell you? They'll tell you, get the hell out of here in New York. But then if you go to a state like Texas, and you talk to some of the far-right people in Texas, and you tell them, I agree with 95% of what you guys are saying, but I also think that gay marriage should be legalized. I don't think the government should tell people who they can and can't marry. They'll still tell you to get the hell out of here. So you have an example of, you know, both sides that, like, if you just disagree with just one thing of that they're saying, they'll just tell you to get the hell out of here. And I personally think that that's, like, the problem, is that there's, like, people aren't willing to listen to other sides, and they're just it's my way or the highway. And if you don't listen to everything that I say, to screw you. And I personally think that's the issue. But enough of me talking about that. That's the thing. And it's just, and what I cannot stand is when politics gets mixed into policing. When you mix politics into policing, that's the worst when that happens like that. Because now the law is getting involved in politics, and now you have, like, you know, people trying to defund the police, or people completely against, like, you know, rehabilitation programs. And so that's just, you know, my view on it, is I just try to take a more balanced view of this. I'm not going to answer what my politics are. I just stay away from that, but I'm just telling you, that's just my personal viewpoint, is that there's just been people on both sides that have pissed me off. That's just, you know, my view on the whole thing. Who do you think is a smarter boss, Winston Chu or Dog Eyes? Winston. Winston, definitely. Dog Eyes was an idiot.
Yeah, that's definitely 100% an obvious answer, is that Winston Chu would definitely be way better than Dog Eyes. Dog Eyes is
Well, what I'll say about Winston is Winston was not a good man, but he wasn't evil. And that's what I'll say about Winston, is Winston cared about his gang. He considered his gang his friends. Dog Eyes never considered his gang his friends. They were just basically just hired muscle. That's pretty much what he saw them as. He saw them as disposable. Winston actually cared about his friends. If, like, one of Winston's friends, you know, like, let's say that, like, you know, Jackie got kidnapped or something like that. Like, if Winston was still alive, Winston would have done everything to save Jackie. So that's, like, Dog Eyes, one of his guys got kidnapped, he would basically, you know, screw it, whatever. You know, he might kill the person, but not necessarily to save the person. It was just basically because somebody messed with him. That was pretty much what it was. So that's why I say Winston actually considered his gang friends in Sleeping Dogs, where Dog Eyes didn't. He just considered everyone disposable. And I think that that's the, yeah, Winston was a much better human being. Dog Eyes was just a scumbag.
Yeah. Also, what he says about Way's sister was pretty messed up as well.
Yeah. You know, Way's sister actually died from drugs that Dog Eyes dealers gave her.
Yep.
That's why Way hates drugs so much, and why he hates Dog Eyes, because he blames Dog Eyes for his sister's death. And with Sleeping Dogs, a lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah, I know the lore pretty well for Sleeping Dogs as well. It's one of my most favorite games. I picked it up on release back in 2012 in August. I think is when it released.
Yes, it was heroin. That's what Way's sister was addicted to. Heroin's horrible, horrible drug.
My dad likes to likes to compare my
Oh, I killed one
time
guy
on
here.
video games to
Wait, what?
heroin.
Oh,
What the-
Oh, there's one.
Did this guy seriously just stand in front of the machine gun? Did he seriously just do that? He like jumped in front of the machine gun. I don't. Ugh.
He was in the building. I was trying to catch him, but he just glitched out on my screen.
Your dad compares video games to heroin.
What? Who said that? What?
Wait,
Alex.
whoa, what?
That is
my
not
dad likes to
comparable at
compare
all.
my
I don't
time
know.
playing video
I don't know.
games to
I
heroin.
don't know. That's whoever said that. I'm not trying to insult your dad, but that's just a stupid statement. That's just that's just
That's what
idiotic.
he likes to
That's
say.
just you know, comparing video games to heroin. Seriously? That's
Yeah, he
it's,
likes to compare it to drugs. He says my video game addiction is like heroin or cocaine to the brain.
no. It's not comparable. It's not. No. No.
it's not, but he likes to
Look.
compare it.
Somebody could be addicted to video games. Technically, video game addiction is rare. It's rarer than people think it is. People think that video game addiction is much more common, but it's not as common as you think it is. Drug addiction is way more common than video game addiction. Even if somebody plays video games all day, that's not an addiction. That isn't. You would become. I'll explain to people. Here's what people don't understand about video game addiction. People think that people think if somebody sits and plays video games all day that's an addiction. It's not. Do you know how to tell if somebody's addicted to video games? A video game addiction would be when somebody is focusing entirely on video games. They don't care about anything else but video games. Like for example, like people aren't eating. You know, they're delaying dinner for a long time. They're constantly just playing video games. They're not going to work. They're not going to school. They're just sitting home playing video games. They're not talking to their family. They're just sitting home the entire time playing video games. If that happens where they're not talking to anybody else and they're like, you know, they're not going to work, they're not, you know, going to school, they're not doing anything else but playing video games, that's an addiction at that point. If somebody has like, you know, if somebody has like the weekend off and they spend all weekend just playing video games, that's not an addiction. That's just somebody just relaxing on just their time. If somebody instead is just, you know, they're not doing anything else but playing video games, that's an addiction at that point. That's what people don't understand about video game addiction. Video game addiction, it's only an addiction when when they cancel everything out of their life, when they don't care about anything but video games. If, for example, if you play video games all day, but like let's say that, you know, your dad or mom come to you and say, hey, I need help with something, you know, please help me, or something like that, and you don't care and you just keep playing video games, that's an addiction at that point. But if you just shut off the game and you go to help your parents, not addiction. So that's what people don't understand about addiction oftentimes. They you know, the media throws around this term video game addiction, but they don't seem to understand it. And it's like, trust me, you know, video game addiction is not a good thing, but you'd much rather be addicted to video games than be addicted to heroin, because being addicted to video games is not going to kill you unless you're not eating. But being addicted to heroin is going to kill you. So that's heroin kills so many people in my state of India. Well, thank you, AN, I'm sorry about that. It's a really horrible drug. And, you know, that's what I say is that you don't want garbage like that to be legalized. It's just that. It's like a lot of people that say that stuff like that should be legalized and that it would, that it would make it, that it would get rid of the drug dealers. No, it wouldn't. And I'll tell you something, like, if the government was, you know, if the government was to legalize something like marijuana, for example, I don't think that would be that much of a big deal, personally, because marijuana doesn't, you know, kill people. But if the government like legalized like meth and like heroin, for example, which is much worse than marijuana, if they legalize something like that, I hear these arguments of people saying that if the government legalizes stuff like that, that it's, you know, there's gonna be less drug dealers and the government can tax it and can control it better. But here's the thing about that: if it's legalized, there's going to be more of it in circulation, which means that more people are going to get addicted to the drug. And then what's going to happen is, if the government tries to tax something like that, what's going to happen is the drug dealers, because they're producing it illegally, are going to offer it, and they're not going to pay taxes on it. And so they're still going to sell it illegally. And then what's going to happen is the people get addicted, and they, instead of going to like the stores that sell like legalized heroin or legalized coke, they're going to go to the drug dealers. And so the drug dealers are going to end up making more money. So you don't want stuff like that personally legalized. I don't have a problem with like marijuana personally, but like heroin and like, you know, meth and stuff like that, that poison should just stay illegal. It should just stay, the government should do their best to just get rid of it and stuff like that. That's
Yeah, at that point, if like meth or crap like heroin and all that stuff was legalized and stuff, you'd be literally seeing like zombies walking down.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
street all the time.
look. Don't get me wrong. I agree with individual liberty. I value individual liberty a lot. I believe that people are in control of their own lives.
Oh,
I think
crap.
I think the government should personally stay out of people's lives as much as possible. But like when it comes to stuff like that, like heroin and like meth, that stuff should stay illegal. And it should just that stuff should never be legalized. You don't want that. Trust me, that's going to cause a lot of problems. It will if that stuff is legalized. There is not one country in this world, not one, who has legalized heroin or meth. It hasn't happened. And what happens is, a lot of people point to Portugal, and they say, oh, Portugal has legalized heroin and meth and stuff like that, but they don't understand Portugal's laws. They don't understand it exactly. I'll tell you the truth about Portugal, guys. Portugal never legalized heroin and meth. They never did. Do you know what Portugal instead did? Portugal decriminalized drug possession, but they didn't decriminalize the drugs. What's the difference? The difference, I'll explain it to you. In America, in my country, if you're caught with heroin, let's say that you're caught with heroin, there's basically two types of charges that you can be caught with. You can be charged with drug possession, or you can be charged with intent to distribute. Intent to distribute is much worse than being charged with drug possession, because drug possession basically means that you're just addicted to it. You just basically have it, you're a user. Intent to distribute means that you're planning on selling it. So if you're caught with a lot of heroin, government is going to look at that and say, this guy was planning on selling this stuff, and so that's going to be a much more harsher punishment. And what Portugal did instead is they decriminalized drug possession, which I think is a good idea. I think that is a good idea, because I don't think that anybody who does drugs, I don't think they should be arrested. I'm completely against, even though I don't think that heroin or meth should be legalized. I'm completely against throwing drug addicts in prison. I think that's a bad idea. I don't think anybody should be thrown in prison for drug use. This is the drug addicts we're talking about, because if somebody's addicted to heroin and you catch them with heroin and you basically send them to prison, that's not going to help them. That's going to just make them more addicted. Their addiction is not going to go away because they're in prison. It might even become worse. So what I personally think the solution would be what Portugal did. What Portugal did instead is, if you're caught with heroin in Portugal, you're not arrested for it. The government will confiscate the heroin. They'll take the heroin away from you and they'll destroy it. But they're not going to arrest you for having it. However, though, if you're a drug dealer in Portugal and you're trying to sell heroin, you're going to get arrested and you're going to get punished. You're going to throw in prison. So if the dealers in Portugal still get arrested. The people who don't get arrested in Portugal are the drug addicts, and I think that's a good idea. So when people compare like Portugal and the US and they say, oh, Portugal legalized all drugs, they don't understand what Portugal's laws are. Portugal's still, heroin and coke and all that is still illegal in Portugal. It's still legal. The only difference is what's illegal is the possession of it, but the drug itself is still illegal. So if the government catches you, they're going to take the drugs away from you and they're going to destroy it, but they're not going to throw you in prison. But the drug is still illegal itself. That's what people don't get it about that. And when people compare Portugal all the time and they say that Portugal does this and that and Portugal legalized drugs, no, it isn't. And what you know what Portugal does? Portugal force the drug addicts to take rehab, which I think that's a good idea. So, if I was making a law, if I was designing the law, what would I do about drugs personally? Let's just say that I was a prosecutor and I had all the power in me. I could set drug laws. What I would do, my personal view on it, is I would decriminalize possession. So if you have drugs, if you have coke, meth, stuff like that, you're not going to get arrested for that. We'll take it away from you. We'll destroy the drugs, but unless you're a drug dealer, you're not going to get arrested. I would increase the punishments for drug dealers. Anybody selling that poison, the punishment increased severely. And each time they do it, the punishment increases more. The drug addicts themselves, don't send them to prison. Instead, force them to take a rehab course. Instead, tell them, you have two options right now. Somebody gets arrested for smoking like meth, let's just say. You give them two options. You tell them, you either go to jail, or you take a rehab course, and we'll pay for it. That's pretty much it. And so I don't see why anybody wouldn't want to take the rehab course, because they would get clear of the drugs. They would get it out of their system and stuff like that. And so that's a way that you can help people, get clear of the drugs without throwing them in jail. And then in the meantime, you increase the punishments for the dealers. And so I think if you did something like that, I think you would get a lot of drugs off the streets. But the problem is that you have politicians that are just stupid. They don't know what they're doing. In this regard, you will have people on the left that will just say, oh, we should decrease the punishments for drugs, and then you'll have people on the right that'll say we should throw drug addicts in prison. No, it's just increase punishments for drug dealers, make the punishment for dealing drugs severe. The people who deal it, they should be thrown in prison. The people who are addicted to it, don't throw them in prison. That's a bad idea. So that's that's if you honestly, I think if you did these together, you took the ideas from both sides and you put it together, and you took away all the stupid ideas and just threw them out the window, you could actually create a much better policy regarding, drug laws. But, the issue is politics gets mixed up in this, and common sense gets thrown out the window, and instead you have people that are just stupid. And you have dumb district attorneys that, that they don't know what they're doing. So that's my personal view on it. What's going on over there? Are these people attacking you?
Yes, for no reason.
Why?
Yeah, and plus, let you know, Fool's Gold just started, so I don't know if you want to do that.
Want to do Fool's Gold? Okay. We could probably do Fool's Gold. We'll do that. Yes, I know, Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it.
Well, at least that'll get me out this 4v1. This damn stupid fight.
And also, what I'll tell you is, if you talk to any officer, whether they're a street cop or whether they're a federal officer, just ask them, what's your opinion on the government's drug laws? Like, do you think that, drugs should be legalized? Do you think that drugs should be, there should be harsher punishments for it? What do you think personally? Because when I was going to college, I had so many instructors that were, former cops. They were detectives, DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, and I talked to them all about this. And I had some varying responses on what to do, but one answer that I didn't hear when I talked to all the cops, I talked to them all, not one of those cops told me that we should legalize heroin and meth. Not one. Not one told me that I thought that was a good idea. Not one. And, the problem with this is that you will have people that will say, oh, the feds don't want it legalized, and they'll say stuff like that. But the thing is, though, think about it this way. Somebody that works in DEA puts their life on the line every single day to fight cartels and drugs and get that off the streets. Don't you think if they knew that legalizing heroin or meth would make their job easier, don't you think they would support it? So you think about it. Why do you think cops are against that too? Because they understand what it would do. If you don't trust the people in the DEA, just talk to regular street cops, and they'll tell you that the same thing that I told you, that it's a bad idea to these people do this for a living. They deal with drug dealers every day, so they'll tell you legalizing hard drugs, is a bad idea. Like I said, it's the when it comes to marijuana, I don't think that's really a big deal. I'm not talking about marijuana. I'm talking about stuff like heroin and meth and just the really bad stuff. That stuff should should just stay illegal.
Got it.
What's your opinion on one of Pop Smoke's murders getting 4 years for what they did? Pop Smoke is a rapper who killed for a home invasion in Cali. Well, I would love to answer your question, but I don't know the specifics of the case. If I knew the specifics of the case, I'd be able to answer it. Can you tell me, though, you don't have to super chat me again, 3rd Street, but can you explain to me, what happened exactly? What was the circumstances of that case? Whoever has the armor, regroup with us. You don't want to be by yourself.
Yeah, I was trying to find y'all.
Hey, Phil, I got another question for you, if it's okay.
What's that?
Can weed kill you? Like marijuana, can it actually kill you, or is it a drug?
For the most part, no. But really, when you really think about it, doing anything too much technically can have massive health effects, and this is anything. Like even eating too much can hurt you. So there's can it technically kill you? Technically, yes, but it's very unlikely that it will. But it depends on it. There's certain forms of marijuana that are actually laced with fentanyl. People don't know about that. That can kill you. So that while that's not the marijuana itself, it's more the version that they're selling. And so that's so marijuana is the least out of all the illegal drugs. Marijuana is probably the least likely to kill you, at the least one. But it technically anything technically could kill you, enough of it. But it's very rare, I would say.
Yeah, one of the ways marijuana could probably kill somebody is if an idiot was taking it and let's say they did something really stupid, like maybe they fell off a bridge or something. Then
yeah, but that wouldn't necessarily be the drug. That would be more of just a result of them just being high and just causing an accident. That would just be more of it. Yeah. It would just yeah. That's what I'll say about that. But, you know, all the other drugs, coke, meth, heroin, that can kill you. You know, that does, you know, everlasting damage. And also, inhaling any kind of smoke is bad for your lungs. Any kind. So that's, yeah, this, I love this Springfield rifle. It's one of my favorite guns.
Well, I got several kills with it.
So, let's say someone in your family smokes weed like almost every day, and you're usually always in the vicinity of it. How bad would that be for your lungs?
That would be bad. I mean, it's just, it depends how much, it's called secondhand smoke. It depends how much of it you're obviously exposed to. But, you know, people blowing any kind of smoke, whether it's cigarette smoke, whether it's, you know, it's smoke from marijuana, is not good for your lungs. And this is, you know, this is what I don't, you know, I'll tell you something, is, there's, I'll tell you this about this, is that it's not even just about the smoke itself, but it's just about the after effects of it, like the smell and stuff like that, because, I'll tell you this, there's this old woman that I know at my apartment complex, right? And, what happens is, this old woman that's at my apartment complex, well, she moved, and I think this is actually one of the reasons she ended up moving, because of this. But there's this old woman that I knew at my apartment complex, and, you know, she would go to the gym sometimes. I would see her at the gym. You know, she was in her 70s, I would say. She just did cardio. But, anyways, about it is, she asked me, you know, one day, you know, she said, you know, Patrick, can you help me with my computer? I think it has a virus. And so I said to her, sure. And so she lives on the other side of the building, on the 4th floor. I live on the 3rd floor, but it's across from me. And so what I came over to her apartment to help her fix her computer, get it clear of some viruses. And what happens is, when I go on her floor, right? I go on her floor, and when I walk past all the doors in the floor, do you know what I see? I see, like, rugs, like, sticking out of all, like, 3 or 4 doors as I'm walking down the hallway. And those rugs, like, on those doors, I just smell marijuana. Like, just weed, and it's like some of the worst smells that I've, like, it was that entire floor stunk. Like, it was just disgusting. And when I went into her unit, like, I could still smell it even when I was in her unit. And she doesn't smoke, I know that. And so I asked her about it, and she told me that it's really annoying, and she said that I can't take it anymore. She's like, I wake up in the morning and I smell that, you know, that's marijuana smell all the time. I open the windows, and it still doesn't go away. It's so annoying, my neighbors keep doing it. And the apartment complex policy, if you signed a lease at the apartment that I live at, the complex, the lease says you cannot smoke anything, even cigarettes. And so these people are constantly smoking in their units. They're smoking marijuana, and it's like it's just bothering people. And the thing about this is, you know, I got into an argument with a few people on the internet about this, like, a few months ago, about this specific topic. And the people that I was arguing with, it was like on a, if anybody knows that channel PragerU. So I got recommended, like, a PragerU poll, like, it was just recommended to me. And the poll was, like, asking, like, it was asking something about marijuana, like, I think it was, like, whether marijuana should be legalized or something like that. And I replied in the poll, and I left a comment, and I basically said that, I think it should be up to the people. If the people want it to be legalized, then okay, that's fine. What I said is that people should also know where to, if it's legalized and it's legal, people should know where to smoke and have respect for others. You don't want the smoke blowing over and, like, pissing off your neighbors or something like that. And you know what people responded to me with? People responded to me with, suck it up, stop complaining or something, deal with it. That's what people responded to me. It's like rude responses. And, like, I was trying to explain to them, that old woman that I was dealing with, because it's one thing if your neighbor is smoking, for example, and you're in a backyard next to you. That's not that big of a deal because it's a backyard. It's like, you know, you could close your windows. You know, you live in the house across from them. But if they're in an apartment, if they're in an apartment and they're right next door to you in an apartment and they're smoking a ton, and that smoke goes into your unit and you have to smell that, there's nothing really you can do about that. There's nothing you will have to deal with that constantly. And for the people that saying, oh, just deal with it, well, you know, why does that old woman deserve it? You know, she's trying to retire, she's trying to enjoy her retirement. Why should she wake up in the morning and have to smell that garbage? You know, she doesn't want to smell it. And the thing about this is, she could have reported every single one of her neighbors to the apartment complex, but she didn't do that because that's not the type of person she is. And so she tried to talk to her neighbors, but her neighbors wouldn't stop. And so it's like, you know, what do you do at a point like that? You know, it's just like, you know, she's, you know, over 70, she's trying to enjoy her retirement. She shouldn't have to wake up every single day in her apartment and smell, you know, marijuana smoke because her neighbors are doing it. You know, if it's legalized and people want to do it, okay, then go ahead. But, you know, have some decency and have some respect for your neighbors. You know, that. So she was nice enough not to report them, but they just wouldn't stop still. And that's just what I thought was really rude of those people to do that to her.
Disrespectful.
But that it was disrespectful,
The
it was
enemies
rude,
because
and it was just, you know, that. And the people in the comments that were arguing with me, telling me like deal with it, it's like, no, it's like you know, if you're in an apartment right next to somebody, you don't understand that. You know, that's gonna blow into your, and you're gonna have to deal with that, and it's gonna be annoying. You know, that's you know, that's that. It's like,
Real deaths.
and like honestly, do you know what I would consider doing if I had
you know,
some
the levels.
if my idiot neighbor was like you know, smoking, you know, a ton, right? And that smoke kept going into my apartment, even if I tried my best to block it out, and that smoke still kept coming into my apartment. What I would do, I would just talk to my neighbor, and I would just say to them, hey, you know, can you please have some respect? Please smoke somewhere else. I just don't want to have this in my unit, you know, that. And if they didn't listen to me, they told me deal with it. Do you know what I would do at that point? I would look up the laws in my area. But if it was legal, what I would do is I would in the middle of the daytime, because I wouldn't do it at night to piss people off, but in the daytime I would blast really loud music that my neighbor could hear it. And if they came to my apartment and said shut it off, I'd say deal with it. And I would keep doing that until they would stop the smoke coming into my apartment. So that's what I would that's really what I would do, because that's so disrespectful that, like, you know, you smoke and it's going into somebody else's unit right next to you, and you're, you know, person tries to tell you nicely stop, and you just tell them to deal with it. That's like you know, no, that's not, you know, this, it's just disgusting, and it's just that. So that's what, honestly, what I would do in that type of situation is I would just use it right back on them. I just you know, I just say, you want to play like that? Okay, I'll play like that too. So that's it. So yeah, so, you know, the people that were, like, you know, arguing with me and telling me, like, you know, I'll deal with it. Well, you don't understand what the woman was going through. You don't understand that situation. So, and she ended up moving away. She didn't move away primarily for the weed smoke. She moved away because she wanted to get move closer to her daughter, who was in another town. But it was but, you know, that definitely factored it in. So that was definitely part of it. Thank you, Power Noodles. Thank you for the super chat. So yeah, that's pretty much my view on it. Is and I'm not one of those people that would, like, you know, call the cops on somebody smoking weed. I wouldn't do that. But it's like, you know, but what I would just say is, like, you know, if you're living in an apartment right next to somebody, it's like, don't have some respect for people. And this goes for everything, whether it's noise, whether it's smoke or something like that. You're right next to people, you know, don't annoy them. That's just that. Don't bother them. Don't annoy them. You know that. And also this what I'll say about that is that woman, that I told you about, the old woman, what she did was she smoked cigarettes, and she smoked a lot. Like, she would smoke a pack a day. But do you know what? I'll tell you this. She has never once smoked in her apartment. Not once. So even though she smokes a pack a day, that's not good for you. You know, you shouldn't do that. You know, she hasn't smoked once in her apartment because she has respect for her neighbors. And every time she smokes, I've seen her outside. You know, she goes outside, she goes to the bin, she smokes where she's supposed to. There's a specific area for smoking. She never does it in her apartment. But easily, if those people are doing it, you know, smoking marijuana constantly, she could easily start smoking cigarettes in her apartment, and the cigarette smoke can be really annoying sometimes. I smelled cigarette smoke, and, you know, and if that smoke goes into the you know, those neighbors' apartments, they can't really complain, because then they're doing it at the same time too, but they're doing it with marijuana smoke. So that's just what I'll say about it. Is, you know, have some decency, and, you know, don't do stuff like that to your neighbors, because it's just rude, it's just messed up, and it's just not nice. As a weed smoker, I agree with you 100%. People need to be respectful. Yeah. So that's just pretty much it. Is you know, that's just my viewpoint on it. I'm not against it. I'm kind of neutral on it. I'm not against it. If people want to make it legal, if there's like a referendum or something like that, and people want to make it legal, you know, smoke weed. Okay, you know, I'm not necessarily against that, but you know, I just don't want it, you know, blowing into my unit, you know, waking up and smelling like weed smoke all over my apartment, weed smell. I just don't want that personally. You want to smoke, you know, go do it somewhere else, just don't do it next to me. That's just my personal viewpoint on it. So that's
Hey, bro, I got most of the kills with the...
She tried that reward, but it didn't do anything. As a weed smoker, agree with you 100%. Thank you, Nova. And thank you, Power Noodles. Call of Duty lore video is an awesome suggestion. I actually made one Call of Duty lore video. I made one. Look up a Call of Duty lore video. It's on my channel. It's called Why Does General Shepard Betray Task Force 141? So I made a lore video on that. And it has like over 100,000 views, so it got popular. I made it like 3 years ago, but it's gotten really popular. I want to make another lore video for Modern Warfare 2. I think it's pretty safe now to talk spoilers, right? Would you guys think it's safe to talk spoilers in a video now? Because I want to...
How long since the game's been out?
November. So I wanted to make a lore video. Why does General Shepard, betray Soap and Ghost? No, why does Shadow Company? Why does General Shepard betray Task Force 141? And then it was also going to be, and why does what's his name, Graves? Why does Graves take Alejandro's base over? That's what I was gonna make a video. And there's actually there is actually a lore explanation on why Graves takes over Alejandro's base. But it's I wanted to make that the title of my video, but I didn't want to spoil the game for somebody, because somebody who doesn't, somebody who just plays Modern Warfare 2 and hasn't completed the story, and they get their video recommended to me. Why does General Shepard betray Task Force 141? They're gonna look at the video getting recommended to me, and they're like, "Screw you, professional! You spoiled the game for me." So that's why I didn't make that video yet. But now it's been more than half a year since Modern Warfare 2 came out. I think it's safe to discuss spoilers.
Yeah.
So if I made a video right now, if I made a video right now and I called it why does General Shepard betray you? You guys think that would be spoilery because it's already been half a year? I don't think that would really be spoilery at that point, because I didn't know how else I could title the video. I honestly didn't know how else I could title a video like that. I didn't know how I could title a video without talking about General Shepard's betrayal without it's being spoilery. So that's that was my view on it. Thank you, Revan.
Yeah, I noticed that Ink Slasher actually posted a lore video about Valeria recently, right? Hey, Melons?
Yep. Yep. Valeria's gonna be in the new season.
Can you do a GTA stream late and why people do drugs? I can do a GTA stream on Sunday. I don't know what time I'll start it. I'll try to start it probably earlier. It's what I'll say is people do drugs for a lot of different reasons, but basically a lot of people that start out as drug addicts, they just do it mainly for fun, and then they get addicted. That's pretty much how most drug addiction starts. What do you think of what's been happening in Tennessee for the past week or so? It was really sad what happened at that school, Mario. Thank you for the super chat.
And it's obviously a hate crime. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, I don't want to. It's just a really horrible thing, and I just want to keep the stream positive for now, because I just don't want to. I know what you're talking about, Mario, and just my heart goes out to all the victims. This is really horrible. But I just don't want to talk about the event personally, because it's just trying to keep the stream mostly positive, personally. Thank you for the super chat.
Okay, there's nothing I can do to
Thoughts on gambling addictions? What I'll say about it is that, gambling addiction, do you know what I think the solution to gambling addiction would be? You know what I think, honestly, the solution would be? It's kind of a weird solution. It's one that I don't think people have really tried. And I think that anybody who's addicted to gambling, I think one thing to help them with their gambling addiction might be might sound like a bad idea, but might be to teach them about the stock market. Because if somebody learns how to trade stocks in the stock market and puts their money in the right places, they can make a decent amount of money. So I'm not saying that you can actually be addicted to stock trading. That actually technically is an addiction. But stock trading requires a lot more skill. It's a lot more skill into it, and it's knowing where to invest your money, when to invest your money. That's pretty much what stock trading is. And I guess it technically is a form of gambling, but there's a lot more skill involved in it. And that's what I've always said is the people that are addicted to gambling, I don't understand why they don't just put their money in the stock market. Like, why don't you learn how to trade stocks and just start investing in stocks instead of putting all your money into gambling constantly? That's what I don't understand about gambling addicts personally. So that's like another way for you to make money, and you could learn how to be good at it too, without blowing all your money at the casino in one day. But the reason I think that a lot of gambling addicts, the reason I think they don't do stocks is because stocks are something that you typically do for long term, and so they don't want to do it for long term. They just want to, they just want the money now, and they just want to rush it, and so that's pretty much what happens. It's all about money. Anybody who, and Mario, to answer your question, anybody who hurts children and kills children is not a victim. That's what I'll say about that. And anybody who says so otherwise, I don't know how they could make a claim like that. So anybody who does something horrible like that isn't a victim. Thoughts? Answer that question. Should Twisted Metal make a return to PS5? You missed my previous super chat. If I did, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it, personally. Twisted Metal. I played those games when I was a kid. Excited for any games this year? I'm looking forward to, what games am I looking forward to this year? Not that much, actually. I'm probably gonna play the Jedi Fallen Order. What am I gonna play?
Isn't Dead Island 2's coming out in a couple
Dead Island
weeks?
2, yeah.
Hey, Pro, I'm starting to get better on the Springfield.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the solution would be ideally not to gamble at all. But it's like I'm saying is that if you have all this money to spend on gambling, I don't see why they can't invest the money. And you don't even have to necessarily invest it in stocks. I mean, you could invest the money into like a bank CD, where the bank will hold on to your money and it's FDIC insured, which means if the bank fails, the government will still give you back your money. And then after like 6 months or a year, the bank gives you a percentage of the money back. So there's ways to invest your money without gambling, but that's the point that I was trying to get. Is I don't understand why people that gamble, why don't they just invest their money instead of just wasting it at the casino? That's what I personally think. I think if people learn to invest their money, I think you'd have a lot less gambling addictions personally. Are you planning on making more crazy current event videos? Yes. Speaking of that, I have a crazy current event video coming out. And it's coming out in a few days probably. So I'm not joking about this, guys. I'm not joking about this. You can Google the story if you don't believe me. I think this was in Minnesota or Missouri. It was a state that starts with an M. I think where it happened. It happened just like 2 days ago. This guy goes into a restaurant. And he goes in the restaurant right before closing. He wants chicken wings. The restaurant tells him that it's too late to make chicken wings because they have to turn on specific grills and just a bunch of other stuff to make the chicken wings. The guy loses his mind, goes crazy, attacks the manager, gets into a fight with the manager. The manager throws him out of the restaurant. It's on video. It's a YouTube video. Manager throws the guy out of the restaurant. Do you know what happens after the manager throws the guy out of the restaurant? The guy takes his truck and smashes it into the restaurant afterwards, and then backs up and drives away. So he drove into the restaurant because they couldn't make him chicken wings. This actually happened. I'm not joking. This is something that you hear like on The Onion. This happened just 2 days ago. But just Google it if you don't believe me. Just look up man rams into store because they didn't make him chicken wings, and you'll find it. And that's like that. I'll make a video about that, reacting to that. But that actually happened. So it's not, I'm not making this up. People think I'm making this up. Look it up. Man rams into store because they didn't make him chicken wings. You'll find the story. It happened like 2 days ago. It should pop up. So that's, did anyone die? No, thankfully. So that's what I say. But, I think they got the guy's license plate, so I think he's gonna get arrested. They have it all on camera, too, the guy's face. So that was, yeah.
Yeah,
there's a similar, thing that happened. Like this, Karen decided to flip out for over too much ketchup. So she asked for ketchup whenever she got her, it happened in McDonald's. She asked for ketchup on her burger, and whenever they gave her put ketchup on her burger, she decided to complain because she claims there's like too much ketchup on it. And she flipped out for over too much ketchup, even though she asked for some ketchup, but...
Thank you, Lunch, Trey, for the super chat. People freak out over dumb things, and especially in the food industry, people will freak out over really dumb things. Is it in Maryland? No, actually, it might be in Maryland. Maybe it was in Maryland, not in Missouri. Maybe it was that. But it's the state started with an M. I know that it started with an M. I forget what state it was, but yeah, just look it up. Man crashes truck into restaurant because they don't give him chicken wings. And that's like, that's just, that sounds like something you'd see on South Park or something like that. That's like something like, just dumb like that, but that actually happened.
It does sound real to me, to be honest.
Hey, it sounds so comical.
I feel like I'm back, like, secondary home, which is Texas.
Oh, well, who cares what the Cuban government thinks? Like, that's just, it's just, Cuban government has no right to tell Americans what kind of video games they can and can't make. So that's,
Oh, Cuban government?
No, he was just talking about when the Cuban government was pissed off over Black Ops 1 killing Castro.
Oh.
Yeah, speaking of Cuba, that's where my mom is right now, actually.
Oh, vacation?
Yep.
Do you think that Ryder is more trustworthy than Big Smoke? No. They're both kind of scumbags.
Oh, Ryder? Wait, no.
Do you think Sony could make a competitor to Call of Duty? Sony will not make a competitor to Call of Duty because there's no reason to right now. But if, God forbid, let's just say that Microsoft basically just says that, you know, next Call of Duty is going to be Xbox exclusive. That happens, you bet Sony's going to make a Call of Duty competitor at that point. You know, at that point they're going to make something. So if they take Call of Duty completely away from PlayStation, Sony will make a Call of Duty competitor. It would be something for the play. What?
If something like that was to happen, do you think they would like reboot SOCOM?
It might be Sony might put their money into rebooting SOCOM, or they might just try to make a new series. But SOCOM wouldn't really be a competitor to SOCOM would not really be a competitor to Call of Duty. It would be more of a competitor to Ghost Recon. So it was
Yeah, because it's more tactical and slow-paced and stuff. I gotta say.
Okay, Ian, thank you.
SOCOM on the PS2 was amazing. I like those.
Well, I
games.
guess I'll be going here, guys. I'll stick around for 1 minute or two and just answer any questions. Do you think Carl was afraid of Claude? Yes, 100%. He definitely was. You saw how Carl reacted to Claude. Yeah, but you never know. In this day and age, people do crazy things all the time. Sony could buy DICE, the devs of Battlefield. Honestly, well, maybe, but look, if I was Sony though, I'll tell you this: if I was Sony and I was gonna buy DICE, before I bought DICE, I would ask them, "What's your next game planned? Like, what's your next Battlefield game, and what kind of content are you planning for that game?" I would ask that ahead of time, because I wouldn't want a disaster like 2042. Because imagine you're Sony, you buy DICE, and then they release 2042 in the state it originally released in. You would not want that. So I would want a return on my investment. I would want to be certain that the game that they're gonna put out is gonna be a success. That's it. But sometimes the investors have it wrong though at the same time too. Do you know that when DICE was actually making Battlefield 1, the investors were completely against that. Do you guys know that? They were. And the investors basically thought that nobody's going to play a World War I game. They thought World War I was boring. So the investors actually wanted DICE to actually make a futuristic game. But Battlefield 1 turned out to be a massive success. It was a much better success than 2042. And it was like, Battlefield 1 is my favorite Battlefield game. It is. I just like the vehicles. I just like the combat. I like this World War I setting. And so the reason Battlefield 1 was such a success, the game wasn't glitchy. It ran well. It was beautiful. Really cool battles. And they did a setting that nobody else really did. I mean, there are some World War I games, but very rare. That's what made Battlefield 1 a success. They did a risky move, and they chose a setting that no one does before.
I find that Battlefield 1 actually has better graphics than 2042, and that's a PS4 game going against a
Sometimes
PS5
I feel
game.
that way too. Yeah.
Yeah, the game was very smooth. I think that 2042 is not very smooth, actually.
GTA 6 will be announced this year, probably, yeah. But not until later in the year. Will you do a Call of Duty World at War playthrough? Maybe in the future, but last time I did it, I got striked by YouTube. They striked me. And they striked me for, harmful and brutal content, even though I didn't do anything. Maybe they'll make a handheld PlayStation, new PlayStation Portable, we'll see. But I guess we'll be wrapping up the stream here, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'm sorry that the first stream earlier crashed. I apologize for all the delays. But I will see you guys on the next one, and I really hope that you guys have a great weekend, and expect to see the San Andreas lore video this weekend, unless, you know, I get copyright claim for that. But thank you guys for watching. See you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, guys.